4 weeks ago, these were on a tree. Now they're rooted and in their pots. In this video, I'll show you how I went about rooting cuttings in 4 weeks in a very easy way. Let's grow a cork-bark elm from a cutting. It is so simple, you can do it. This one has been grown from a cutting as well. It has now good branches. The trunk is about an inch thick. It's corking up and I have all these clippings. And I'm going to show you how you grow these, root them. Yeah, let's get going. To root these from cuttings, you actually need cuttings. And what you're looking for is branches that have grown well. These are nice and strong, but look at how far the nodes are apart. So I typically look for branches that have short internodes. Now I'm not going to have to clip them off here because I already pruned it. I have lots of material here on the table. Let's look for something. I find that if you want to root these, you don't actually need to use any rooting hormone. What I do is I soak them overnight in some water and then I plant them up deep. Now here, this is material that you could use. This is a very healthy young whip and that I could use as a whole, just like that. I remove the tip, that's too weak and it will get fungal all over quite quickly. If you look at it, you see here, it is all green and then it turns brown. And I'm clipping it just where it has turned brown. This is referred to as semi-hardwood. So it has grown this year, but it is starting to mature. Then I remove all the lower leaves and actually I pull them off. But if you use a scissor, you can avoid pulling off the little bud that sits here in the elbow and I leave 2 leaves on it. Then I just plop them in the water for the night. Naturally, you can also take older branches. This is a branch of last year and I remove all the growth except for a little bit of leaves of this year. This is actually not that healthy, so I'm clipping those off and I'll leave a few of this. This also in the water. And I do this just a whole bunch of times. I just remove the leaves, remove the tip, leave it at 2 leaves and punch it in the water. One tree can this way give you hundreds and hundreds of cuttings. Once again, make sure you look for branches with tight internodes because that is where your new branches are going to appear on your cutting. This is a very nice, healthy, young cutting, tip off and in the water. In fact, they root so easily that this branch that I popped into the ground in fall has now rooted and is growing. Let's put this in the pot by itself. Just look at those roots. I cut the long ones off so that now I'm left with only roots that are fairly radial already. Look at that. I'm gonna plant it deep. I've just removed a substantial part of the root, so it's not very stable. So planting it deep is always a good idea. Spreading the roots out so they're nice and evenly distributed, aiding in the better root spread later on. And it is summertime, so to reduce evaporation, I've removed pretty much all of the leaves. This is of course the wrong time to do it, but you know, it was sitting in the pot and it was just a joke cutting. Now it has a chance to grow up as a singular plant and then I can give it away. And after soaking for a night, these cuttings now all have developed a little jelly here at the cut sides. This effectively prevents infections. It is sap. And now we can just plant them up. That's all there is to it. This is how easy it is to grow these from cutting. Now the main substrate that I use, this is basically pumice with lava and this is, I think it's zeolite. It's just a standard mixture. I don't actually think this is important. What I think is important is my topping and that is vermiculite. About a third of the pot is filled with this and the cuttings actually sit in this material with their cut ends. And I make sure that I water this down completely before I do anything else. I like to use a bit of wire and just poke holes in the substrate where I'm going to put cuttings. So I'm just punching a few holes and I'll stick the cuttings right into this pot. And once I'm done, I'm putting it all into a plastic baggie. And the plastic baggie is meant to conserve the moisture. The biggest problem with taking cuttings is cuttings drying out. And therefore you need to make sure that while they are rooting, they can't dry out. And this is what I do by placing it in a baggie. Make sure the first inch or so, the first 2-3 centimeters, are in the substrate. As said, I'm taking some older and some younger ones. I might not stick them all, because I don't really need this many. This is more just for growing on and giving them away, and for demonstrating to you how easy it is to grow your own elm cuttings. Naturally, I'll water the whole pot through and through before putting it into the baggie. Now, I think this is a nice pot full. Off into dappled shade for the next 4 to 8 weeks, and within that time it should start to root. With the baggie closed, there's no need to water. Almost 4 weeks have passed, and I look in the baggie and I see a few new leaves. Hard to believe, but I think it is true. I think these have rooted. Let's take these out of the baggie and see what the next step is. Look at that, that is new growth. So now, how do you know that you should start checking your cuttings for roots? First of all, if you see leaves appearing that weren't there, or if you have buds swelling, here there's also leaves appearing. And of course, if there's roots at the bottom, then you also know these have probably rooted. I don't know whether all of them rooted. Let's get them out of the pot and pot them up individually. This is amazing. This is really so fast. Such a good success. This is one. This one has not rooted. This one has not rooted. 2. This one has not rooted. 3 and 4, both with roots. 5 with roots. 17. So 17 have rooted and 4 have not rooted. I'm going to plant these up in small individual containers. Now these that have not rooted I could plant up again, but you know, with such a good success, this old soil I'll reuse in my pot, and I'll just mix it in with the substrate that I prepared, which is pumice with bark, zeolite and lava. At this stage, what I like to do, you see that sometimes you only have one root. And then I just trim them short. Of course, if there's 2 roots, I trim both of these short. This will encourage basically new roots to form. Here there's 3 or 4 short roots, which is really good. I don't do anything. These, also a number of short roots. Just clip this one short, the longest one. Effectively, I don't want any overpowering roots, and I just want to stimulate side roots on these. These are young. These roots are very vital, so it will quite quickly start growing new roots. Then, because there are so many, I probably will pop 2 in a pot, because I don't have enough pots. But you can of course plant them up individually, and after planting them up, most of the aftercare that I give is just a couple of days in the shade. If it is really hot, you can actually put them in a shed, and nothing else. So the bigger ones go in individually, and the smaller ones can share a pot. And the big ones go in the pots that I haven't put all that much substrate in. The smaller ones go in the ones with a little bit more substrate, just like that. Just distribute them over the pots, see how you turn out with the space. It's not all that important. And then just fill them up, right, with substrate. And how's that for 4 weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pots with new Corkbark elms. You see, it doesn't have to be all that difficult. Clip, soak, plant, wait. And of course the cutting that I pulled from the pot that I took last year. Doing perfectly well. Has grown some new roots. It doesn't get enough sun, so it's not growing really strongly, but this is now ready to be grown out, either in the full ground or in a pot. But look at how corky this young whip already is. This is of course why it is called a Corkbark elm. At a very young age already you get these corky strains on the bark, making it look much older than it really is. It has a red label. This is going to be on the European Bonsai auction site at some point later this year. But before I do that, I'm going to take this and compare it to another tree that I have in my garden, but that's in the next video. This was Jelle, growing bonsai, with a very short video with how to propagate elms for bonsai.